Curate's Egg, Ashraf Ali Thanvi, Part 17. Necrophilia, Paedophilia, Bestiality and Rape.
Many people from amongst the scholars and the pious have regarded him as to have been the Mujaddid of the 14th century.
Here we have a very well-known UK-based Deobandi speaker extolling the virtues of Ashraf Ali Thanvi, praising him to high heaven. But the problem is, when we actually look into the literature available in the English language, we should not really be praising this man. We should actually be disowning this man, Ashraf Ali Thanvi, because of the obscene nature of the material present in his literature. And I will just allow the literature to speak for himself, and I will actually not use, well, I just did use a value judgment of obscene there, but I will try not to use value judgments when reading this literature, because it is something that leaves one speechless, really. Again, the Gletkin-Rubashov channel does not condone any of this literature or any of these types of behaviors. It's something that is anathema to the educated, cultured mind, and anyone who claims that this is something that religion should be promoting is someone who needs to reassess their world view. Here we start with this book that's called, in English, Peculiar Problems of Men and Women, and in Urdu it's available and it's called Mardun Auratun ke Makhsus Masail. The same thing, Peculiar Problems of Men and Women. It contains a number of problematic statements. The first of these statements is necrophilia. So here on page number 11 we have, if one rubs his sexual organ with a dead body or an animal and semen is discharged, then compensatory fast will be compulsory. Again, there's nothing I can say there. There is a term in law called reus ipsa loquitur. The act speaks for itself. This is not really an act, this is a text, but I would say this text speaks for itself. Furthermore, it states, if someone committed sexual intercourse forcibly with a woman, then the woman is liable to compensatory fast and not reconciliation, but the man is responsible for both. But in case she was disagreed at the beginning but agreed before discharge of semen, then she is also responsible for the compensatory fast and recompensation. This is a discussion of rape, because it's sexual intercourse, and then the term forcibly is used with a woman. And in the next part 18, I'll discuss exactly how they view women. And then, even more disturbingly, it says she could be disagreeable at the beginning, but towards the end of the act she could be agreeable. Is there a more candid way to describe rape? I think not. Then we have this issue of homosexuality, and if you study or you watch the previous parts where I described the relationship between the guide of Ashraf Ali Thanvi, his name was Haji Imdadullah, and the disdain they had for sexual relations with women, and the displays they had of anti-natalism, and I use the word anti as A-N-T-I, not ante, A-N-T-E, anti-natalism, meaning they had no desire for women. Also we have the instance of the haptic versus non-haptic physical communion between Ashraf Ali Thanvi and his followers. We also have the pederasty, where Ashraf Ali Thanvi would not allow young boys to be present in his scriptorium alone with him. These are all red warning signals. These are red flags for you to read between the lines of what this man was about. All I can do is present the data and the information from the source texts themselves, and you have to make up your decision whether this is a man you should be following. Here it says at the bottom, if a man enters his penis into the navel or thigh of a woman or man and semen is not discharged, then bath will not be obligatory. Why would this discussion be happening within an Islamic context? A man entering his penis into the navel or thigh of a man. Again, judge for yourself. So, what is the academic understanding of what's going on here? Here we have the thesis that we base our whole series on at Duke University in 2015 by the author Mian, and he describes, and the psychoanalyst, his name is Christopher Bolas, he pathologizes it as it-to-it encounters. And what this is basically saying is the objectification of, number one, women who are alive, then two, children, then three, dead people, then four, dead animals, then five, objectification of other same-sex partners. He says it's a desire to be an impersonal third-person singular, a transitional sexual self, or an it. This is an impersonal desire present in mostly gay men, as it attempts to objectify a self fractured by desire. This is a Duke University Ph.D. thesis explaining, according to Christopher Bolas, what is going on here. And so it's just not a claim that this is a homosexual scenario and scene. This is exactly what's going on. This is why the literature reads as it does. Then we have this issue that talks about an erotic triangle. It says, and this was, if I'm fair, this was talking about a desire that a follower of Thanvi had for images that he had in his mind of a dead spouse. Not in the forms of necrophilia, but he had pleasant memories of physical relations with his now dead spouse. And so that in itself is definitely not problematic, because you're thinking about bygone times. The things that are problematic is when you have desire for sexual relations with a corpse, which is present in the literature, as I've shown. But here it talks about the correspondence between this disciple and Thanvi, and he documented it, and he says this correspondence documented an erotic triangle between Thanvi, his male disciple, and several figurations of the feminine, the dead wife, the living divorcee, and the slave girl. Again, the undertones of homosexuality, pederasty, and now the introduction of necrophilia and bestiality is what we are dealing with when we're dealing with Ashraf Ali Thanvi. And if a person cannot disown this, and if a person cannot put their hands up and say this is wrong, you really need to ask questions of this sect and this cult. Please stay tuned for many more parts.